Good evening, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak about my life actually, and the story of my life. Because working with the communities for conservation is what I do for a living and what is my life and passion. So basically, we know that we are too many of us today in the world. There is just one globe that we have, but with 8 billion of us, we were just 2.5 billion by 1950. And today we are 8, and we are expected to reach 9.7 by 2050. So in this case, we seem to be living at 1.75 globes, We need more than what we have. And in this case, we are living off the natural resources, the biodiversity that we have. And this biodiversity provides the basis of our life. In fact, it is said that 1/3 of all the crops that are grown require natural pollinators. Natural pollinators means the bees, the different dragonflies that we have, but they are vanishing. So that is very, very critical. That's for our food security. Then comes the pest control, natural pest controls, which again these insects provide, these different worms, etc. provide. We are losing them. So everywhere our food security is threatened unless we conserve our biodiversity. Everybody knows about the water. We know what is going to happen in the future. We keep reading about it. We keep hearing about it, that we are going to be short of drinking water, fresh water, which is provided by our forests, through the rivers and the wetlands, the surface water as we call it. We all have recently come out of a very severe kind of a zoonotic disease, as we call it, the COVID-19, which is also an outcome of poorly managing our biodiversity, where the wild and the domestic species come too close to each other. And if we look at how we have lost this biodiversity, we have lost approximately 69% of the species, but the maximum loss has taken place in the freshwater biodiversity, which is very alarming because this resource, the freshwater resource, is only 0.1% of the surface water and covers only 1% of the global surface area. So loss of species on freshwater indicates that we are losing these ecosystems as well, because these species are the indicators of the health and well-being of these systems. Why are we losing these species? We are losing these species because the degradation of these habitats where they live, wetlands and rivers, as well as a loss which we are losing. The rivers are drying up. We say Aviral and Nirmal Dhara, but we really don't have it. Most of our rivers are dammed. All the large dams have been built on all our large rivers. And apart from that, the pollution resulted in loss of river connectivity. And this has not happened only in our country. It is a worldwide phenomenon. But we are highly in the red. And in fact, none of the Indian rivers flow uninterrupted for more than 1,000 kilometers. In fact, only 37% of the global rivers flow uninterrupted for over 1,000 kilometers. And connected to this is the fact that we also are losing the riverine species. And the loss is very, very high in the Indian subcontinent. So coming to our own rivers in the country, we have the national river, the Ganga River. And I think this river has taught me a lot about integrity, about leadership, about moving on. This river that originates in the Himalayas passes through various altitudes, various social, cultural, and economic places, and it faces a lot of tough things on a way. There are dams, there's a lot of pollution happening, there's a lot of fishing happening, there's a lot of mining happening, and so many people are depending on it. The government of India has declared it as a national waterway. So many demands on this one river, which covers 26% of our country's land area and takes care of 43% of the India's population. It contributes 40% of the national GDP and 30% of the water resources of the country. The country's 47% of the irrigated area is within this river basin. So how important it is for the survival of the people. It is extremely important for our culture, religion, faith, and tradition. Every Indian would like to at least visit this river once. And for some of us, it is the place to go from the birth to death. But at the same time, this river is host to or home to some amazing biodiversity. It contains 5 species of mammals, aquatic mammals. You know the Gangetic river dolphin, which is our national aquatic animal, and it is found in the Ganga in good numbers. Then we have the reptiles like the magar, the gharial, which is found only in the Indian subcontinent. We have several species of fish, almost 200 species of fish in the Ganga River. We have 14 to 15 species of turtles. We have over 300 species of migratory and resident birds. So this one river doing so many things for us, and at the same time, continuing to provide water and other ecosystem services and sustaining the life within and outside it. To my mind, that is leadership. Leadership is not only about being a leader, but also about nurturing talent. It's yours or somebody else's. Appreciating it, contributing to it, and also providing opportunities to the ones who are less privileged. And my story with the Ganga begins here. The government of India, realized that Ganga needs to be cleaned. It has been a long time, the Ganga Action Plan 1, 2, which focused on cleaning this river. But we could not get the desired results. And by 2014, the government realized that they need to change their approach, and therefore a mission was set up by the government of India, the National Mission for the Clean Ganga. And they had a logo, and our Honorable Prime Minister had a vision to create an Aviral and Nirmal Dhara of the river. Aviral means flowing sustainably, and Nirmal means unpolluted. That was the dream, and that is the dream. And then they realized that there were 2 things that they were lacking. The first one was that they did not give the due importance to the biodiversity in the river. The animals that I just told you about, and the plants that this river contains, and so many of the microfauna and flora that it contains. So they realized that unless we conserve these species, this river is not going to become the river that is required for this country. And secondly, you require community participation. Everybody needs to contribute to the cleanliness of this river and to the well-being of this river. And that is where we stepped in, because we work on the biodiversity and we were called to work. And when we started our job, nobody really knew what was this biodiversity that this river contained and where this biodiversity was found. So we started with our usual scientific studies, and to our pleasure and surprise, we found that almost 50% of the river was alive. A river being alive means that the species are there, they are thriving, and they are breeding. So that was a very pleasant finding for everybody, that the river still has scope and hope. And to sustain this hope, along with the science, we need to involve the common people. And so we embarked on a journey to engage the communities living along the Ganga as our partners in conservation of this river. And I was able to create a platform which is known as Ganga Praharis, the guardians of rivers. I call myself a Ganga Prahari, and I think each one of us here today is a Ganga Prahari. Every responsible citizen is a Ganga Prahari. And in that way, we are all leaders. And to tell you about these Ganga Praharis, when we went to these villages along the river, we did not know what to do, how to get them with us. But slowly we started realizing that there were some people in the community who were like prisoners. They were prisoners because they did not have the opportunity to do something. They wanted to do something, but they did not know what to do. They did not know how to do it. They did not know whom to approach. And even if they knew whom to approach, there was nobody who was going to take them there where they wanted to go. And then we started bringing these people together, and we created a cadre of 250 people as Ganga Praharis, 50 from each of the Ganga states, Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Jharkhand, and West Bengal. And somehow, these people, when they came together, for me, it was a very humbling experience because they got a platform and they got the name of the Wildlife Institute of India, and to them, we were, scientists, big people from the government, and they thought that we can take their message to the government, which we did. We took them to the highest platform. They could interact with the PM, with all the ministers, and the way they emerged as leaders in the society. Today, we have more than 4,500 people as Ganga Praharis. More than 50% are women. And it is these societies where women do not come out of their homes. But when they were given an opportunity to work for Ma Ganga, everybody came out. They call it Ganga Ji. Nobody calls Ganga. And because they wanted to do something. They are poor people, they are fishermen, they are students, they are teachers, they are lawyers, they are daily wage laborers, they are all sorts of people. But we are one because we have a common cause. That is to clean the rivers. And when we started working, then the COVID came. And suddenly we were lost. We lost connect with our Ganga Praharis. We lost connect with the species that were found in the river. But suddenly we started getting calls after 2 weeks or so that, these people have come from the cities, they have lost their jobs, and we have to feed them. We have to do something because COVID is happening, we don't know. Because everybody looked up at them because they were the leaders in the community. And they came to them and told them, please do something for us. You are the government. You know the government people. And then when they called us, we joined hands with them, and their skills, whatever they had learned, somebody was making masks and distributing, somebody was collecting money and feeding the people, somebody was doing all sorts of awareness campaign, and suddenly this whole social movement and leadership emerged at the grassroots level. And it was the second thing in leadership is they need a platform, it needs to be appreciated, but it was highly appreciated. Because there is very little capacity in the country today, scientific capacity also, to work on freshwater species. So these people who were constantly being trained by us, and they are sharing the same platform where some of the most cutting-edge scientific papers are discussed, the top scientists in the world come, and when I see my Ganga Prahari speaking from the same platform and translating this science into the common man's language, I feel so proud. That is leadership. So for our generation, working for the conservation of natural resources and freshwater sources is extremely important. But it is even more important for us to enable the future generation, to prepare them to become the future custodians of these resources. And so we started a Bal Ganga Prahari program. And today we have 700 schools and growing by the day who are working closely with us. And these children are the ones who bring about change in their families. Plastic, use of plastic, every plastic that is not recycled on this earth ends up in our oceans and rivers. And you must have seen those pictures of so many species in which, you get plastic entanglement. In fact, there was a UN plastic treaty which just happened in October 2023. So anything, only, out of not even 10% of the plastic that we generate is actually recycled today. Rest, everything is going through the rivers, through the streams, into the oceans. So even the fact that children from 700 schools are changed into not using plastic, into responsible waste management, into growing small nurseries, and so on. And these are largely children from underprivileged schools. And they are again emerging as leaders in their areas, educating other schools, creating small libraries and information corners in their schools, and inviting other schools to share with them. So that is the Bal Ganga Prahari program. And then we have a program for the global citizens, that is the Pravasi Ganga Prahari program, where anybody across the globe can become a guardian of rivers. It's not only Ganga or its tributaries. It could be any river in the world. Every river needs protection and conservation today. Every river needs its guardians and its leaders. What I learned from this river was, and let me tell you another thing, there are no boundaries. I learned it with my experience. It got reinforced with the experience of my Ganga Praharis. If you just Google Ganga Prahari, you will find these stories of these young men, women working tirelessly for today, even as I speak here, for the conservation of rivers and wetlands and for these species. I am a student of economics. When I joined the Wildlife Institute of India, everybody asked, what an economist will do in Wildlife Institute of India? She doesn't know any animals. She doesn't know the trees. She doesn't know the birds. And actually, I did not know it. And we were a group of friends who joined together and we were trained together. And I would just look up to them to teach me something. Tell me what is this bird, tell me what is this tree, and that is how I learned. And every time we would work in the forest and come back together, they would tell me, oh, you are not doing anything, you are just going and talking to people, having nice cup of tea and coming back. We are running after the tiger, I'm running after the elephant, I'm working in Ladakh on the snow leopard, and I would feel so guilty that I am not contributing anything. But today, the entire scenario has changed. My belief, my persistence, which I think this river also teaches us, keep flowing, keep moving. You will achieve what you want to. And today, this student of economics is a dean in this institute, which is the world's top premier institute in the field of wildlife conservation. So I reached here, and then when I see my Ganga Praharis, who could not even, speak to us, today standing on podiums like this, and I'm sure one of them will be on such TED Talks, and several of them will be there on such TED Talks in the future. That is leadership. Having belief, being able to integrate people, subjects, your skills, that is leadership. That is required. That is required for the future of this globe. You cannot have boundaries of subjects. You cannot have boundaries of thoughts. You cannot have any boundaries when you have a goal to reach. You will have to reach out. You will have to accept, and you will have to appreciate, and also provide platforms to others. And that is what this river has taught me. And I'm sure as you dwell more into the story of the Ganga, that is what you will learn. So thank you all. Jai Hind, Jai Gange.